See, I know this says grandpa. It says I love you, grandpa. This is from my oldest son, Tyson, who couldn't find an I love you, dad. So he was like, you know what? Dad, I couldn't find dad. So I'm gonna get the next best thing. So
he made sure. It was a Valentine's Day.
It was. And you know what? It might be a little foreshadowing. Hopefully it's 20 years into the future and not 6. But you know.
Hey man, you're gonna be a dope grandpa.
Hey man, I ain't talking about that right now.
One day.
I ain't talking about it right now.
Sipping on this tea because it's
sipping on this tea
whatever we got going on.
We got some stuff going on right here, but you know, we are celebrating how many years of Chameleon Love? Since 2018, right? 2018, and we've been a parent for 10 years now. Our son is 10 years old now. And so, you know, we've learned a lot in those 10 years.
Man.
We've learned a ton of stuff in those 10 years. And I am so thankful that we've been able to learn as much as we've learned.
Yeah.
But I gotta admit, man, starting out, man, I feel like I sucked as a parent.
What?
Damn, I don't think I get it. We were experimenting, right? We were experimenting. Tyson was the experimental kid.
Yeah.
So Tyson is the oldest. Too. He is. Tyson is the oldest of 3.
Yeah.
And you know, we sucked as parents, man. I mean, we did the best that we could
with what we had.
Trying to learn on the fly.
Yeah.
But damn, like so for instance, one of the things that I think I always go back to is like when he was learning, you know, different things and as far as like schoolwork and stuff like that, like math and, you know, learning how to structure sentences and reading and all that stuff. Like I was so hard on him,
all the stuff that make you lose your shit.
And I lost it so many times. I remember I jacked him up on the wall one time. Like, yo, I jacked this dude up on the wall because he was pissing me off because he knew, I felt like he knew it, but he just wasn't doing it. Like, just terrible parenting, man. Like, I had to really get a hold of myself, man. I'm glad Ace and Kano came along. They really helped me, you know, have more patience when it comes to doing homework. But
listen, parenthood is like all this shit in the background. Like, that's what it looks like. All of this.
That's why we're doing it. Parenting isn't the glitz and glamour of, you know, having the perfect decor and having all this.
Everything is gonna be crazy.
It gets messy. Right now, we're recording in our playroom, and I'll splice a little clip of video in there to show you what we're talking about. But we just was like, you know what? We don't need the decor. We don't need the floral background.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to show what parenting is really like. We need to show what, you know, being in a relationship looks like sometimes. It gets messy. It's not perfect.
Let's be clear. Like, you know, we got married and then we went to Vegas and got pregnant. And whatever stayed in Vegas did not stay in Vegas. And so you got to understand, we were learning to be spouses and parents within a year. And so we're coming up on 11 years of marriage, but our son is 10 years old. Like, that's a huge, you go from being an individual or being engaged to being married. So now you a husband and wife, and now you go to being parents, from being a husband and wife to being parents. Those are 3 major changes that happens. Like, that chameleon love effect was there.
It was back to back.
We were back to back to back. How do you catch up from that? How do you even have time to even figure out like who you are, let alone who your spouse is, let alone how to parent a child?
So let's unpack that. Chameleon love is based on every major life change and or every 3 to 5 years, you change as a person, right?
Yeah.
We don't stay the same. So my love for you will never stay the same.
Right.
Your love for me will never be the same. So people who say that, they're full of shit. Your love will never stay the same. It has to constantly change.
Yeah.
And because it has to constantly change, that's what helps you relearn the person that you're with. So in going back to that, we had 3 major life changes in like all of a year.
Yeah.
We had a marriage, April 25th, 2013. We got pregnant.
You married, the best thing for you, baby.
That's still debatable. That's still debatable. No, I'm just playing. You're right.
So come up, baby.
Best thing smoking. All right. So we got married April 25th, 2013.
Yeah.
We got pregnant on our honeymoon, unbeknownst to us. We found out in June though, right? I think it was like June.
My girlfriend told me.
We had a marriage in April. We had a pregnancy in June.
Yeah.
So that's 2 changes. mentally you go through a cycle, or psychologically you go through a change because now you're husband and wife. You're no longer just.
Yo, I remember when I told you I was pregnant.
Are you gonna let me finish it?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right. So we go through 3 life changes. We go through marriage, April 25th. We go through finding out. So now psychologically, we've changed, because now we can't just pick up and go. We gotta get a divorce or whatever if we want to, if we went down that route. Mm-hmm. It's not as easy. So people say, oh, it's the same. It's not the same. It's a difference. So you have that. Then you have, we find out now that we're getting ready to be parents. We have to somehow, some way, we don't know how, shape ourselves into, okay, we're going to become parents. We got to do things differently. We got to set better examples. Physically, you're going through a change. So now your body is going through a physical change. So now you're getting ready to change again.
Yeah.
Because your body is never going to be the same. It's not going to respond the same. It's not going to react the same. It's not going to feel the same. It's not going to look the same. Everything changes when a woman gets pregnant for her. Yeah. So you go through all these emotional changes, physical changes, psychological changes. And so now that's 2 major life events within a couple of months. Yeah. So now your body is forming, is shaping, the baby is growing, your stomach is getting bigger, you're getting closer to the due date. And now from the time we found out, which was in June, to the time you deliver, which is January the 30th, 2014, now you're a parent. Now we're parents, and you've delivered this baby. You're going through another change. So it's fair to say in less than 1 year, you went through 3 major life-changing events. Yeah. That's crazy to think about. Yeah. And so to journey into parenthood, you had all of these changes. And oh, by the way, now I'm not just responsible for myself. I'm responsible for this little baby that is looking for me to show the way and to provide nurture and care for.
And I want to extend on that though. Like when you say 3 different, major changes, not only that, but from a different standpoint of a woman and a man, like a mom and a dad. Okay. So for a woman coming into marriage, she's already changing her last name, everything about it. We got to do everything. Assuming your last name, doing, changing all of my documents. So now the identity is completely different as well. Then you go into being a mom, and now my body's changing. My hormones have changed. My hair, the way I look at myself, all of that stuff has changed too. Yeah. So when you think about that from a different perspective, whereas the men, the husband, father, you started being a dad when the kids were born, but we're a mom for 10 months, to a year. You really have to take a stand back and have empathy, a different level of empathy for your wife, or for me. You had to have a different level of empathy for me at that time and didn't even realize what that was.
Yeah, I mean, because obviously I had no experience with it, right? So I had to grow in that. What I did know is that I had a duty to take care of you as a husband, just off rip, right? So I know if you're uncomfortable, if you're not feeling well, if you got cravings, all this stuff that comes with pregnancy, then I know I got a duty to take care of you. Yeah. In that, I also know that I have a seed that's growing inside of you now. And I know I got to take care of that seed as well. So now I got to take care of you. I got to take care of the seed. So which is why I tried my best to make sure you was as comfortable as you could be. I know you can never get fully comfortable. Yeah. But
you've always loved me well through pregnancy. I can't, we had our differences in every one of our pregnancies have been different, right? But you loved me well. And I will say with Tyson, that was really important because I didn't have a relationship with my father, and carrying a boy, it took me back to some places. It was some triggers for me. So it was very important in how I loved during my pregnancy, and between the love having you and your dad to be able to accept me and to love me accordingly. That was really helpful for me to be able to, and really important for me to have a healthy pregnancy with Tyson.
Yeah. So let me ask you this then. What's the biggest thing that you've learned thus far, 10 years of experience of being a parent? Mm-hmm. What's the biggest thing that you've learned thus far?
That if you want the relationship with your children, you have to work for it. Mm-hmm. It's not given to you. Mm-hmm. God gives us these beautiful blessings. He entrusts us with the wisdom to be able to raise and lead them well. Mm-hmm. But we can't do that if we're not willing to look inside ourselves. And so your children are really a mirror reflection of you. And whether it's good or bad or ugly, they compose all of these things. And so when they're born, that relationship is a given. They need you. They want you. But as they continue to grow, they need you differently. And if you don't choose to show up in a way that allows them to feel safe, you will lose that relationship. And sometimes you never get it back.
And you see that a lot with adults and adult parents and
children.
Adult children.
Yeah.
Right.
And I recognized early that I had some stuff that I was struggling with Tice. From the time that, we were pregnant. Like I had some depression going on. I had some anxiety. I, had some mental health things that was going on. Like I had a lot of stuff underneath the surface that was going on. But him coming into this world, it was like God was saying, what you gonna do?
But you recognize that. See, that's the thing. Some people will know something's off and not acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Just kind of sweep it under the rug.
Yeah.
And through that, nothing changes, right? You only perpetuate the possible things that was passed down to you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like. Parenting skills can be passed down. Doesn't mean it's good.
Right.
I can't parent the way my mom parented me. And
we can't parent our children, this generation.
Yeah, it's different.
You cannot do
It's different.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that I've learned since becoming a dad is that I cannot take the voice from my children.
That's good.
And I allow them to speak freely to me. I don't tell them, shut up because I said so. Yeah. I try my best to allow them to speak as freely as they can, respectfully.
Right.
But speak your mind, son. Because what I don't want to do is stifle your voice and you get out in this world and you're afraid to speak up for yourself.
Yeah.
No, we're not doing that in this household. I come from a long line of Heath men and we don't hold our voices.
Yeah.
We can be respectful in how we say it, in the manner of which we say it, but I stand on what I say.
Yeah.
And I mean it. And that's what I want to teach the boys is that you can be respectful and still disagree with dad or mom. That's okay. I welcome disagreement.
Yeah. And we talk about
I welcome questioning.
Yeah.
That's another thing too, is that you couldn't question your mom and dad growing up. They didn't because
these hands, bro.
Because they learn from their parents. And you say something if you want to, you get smack the shit out you.
Yeah, it's which one you want.
And then
you want
and then tell you to go sit down. I remember my grandma used to be like, go out there and get that switch.
Yeah.
Make me pick my own weapon of violence. Go get that switch.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, my grandma. But she would do that. So, it's obviously it's a totally different dude. You do that shit now, you might end up in handcuffs. Totally different time being raised in the 80s and the 90s.
Take that switch from you and use it. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, he ain't gonna do that. He ain't gonna do that. That'll be the last. That nigga won't turn off a light switch. He won't even want to turn off a light. I promise you, he take that switch from me. Anyway, I'm not beating my son with no switch, but I do want them to have a voice and to be able to respectfully disagree with whatever is being said or have a difference of an opinion. I want them to have their own mind. I don't want them to think exactly how I think.
No.
20 years from now, the way I think is going to be totally different.
Yeah.
So why would I just pigeonhole them to this moment of time of thinking? No, I want you to be forward thinking. So, I learned that. And then the biggest thing and the last thing that we'll say is that I think both of us agree that we learned that it's okay to say, I'm sorry to your child.
Yeah.
My apologies, son.
Yeah.
If you're wrong, it's okay to say, I'm sorry, son.
Yeah.
You know what? Daddy was wrong.
And taking ownership in that, right? Because saying apologizing that's just not enough. An apology with taking ownership allows them to see how it feels to be responsible for your actions.
And the best apology is change behavior.
It's change behavior, right? But then also we're getting to a point to where we're explaining these things. That wasn't okay for me to say that. I really didn't need to say it that way. I shouldn't have done that. I apologize. Do you forgive me? Do you forgive me? Because that's a big one too. Empty apologies hurt too.
Yeah.
So, I feel like an empty apology isn't an apology.
It isn't.
And so what is your apology?
It's just words.
Exactly. So for this, I love the fact that Tice has taught me what it means to go after the relationship with him, to build it, and to be my best self, me being my best self, helps him to be his best self.
Yeah.
And to show up authentically in that as well. So.
Well, there's a lot to unpack.
I think you're doing a good job.
I think you're doing a good job as well.
Let's toast to that.
We are doing a great job as
parents. For the week.
It is not easy, but it does take a village. We appreciate the people that have served in our village.
Listen, near and far.
Yeah.
Tyson's the village kid.
So we got 2 other kids that I'm sure we will talk more about them too. But yeah, we just wanted to just kind of reflect on 10 years of parenthood, being that it is our son's 10th birthday. Yeah. So salute to parenthood.
Salud.